Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? It's Proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome back, fans, to another exciting episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with co-host Jay Dash. We got some Bucko baseball for you. Dash, are you worried about this rotation moving forward? Because at the beginning of the year, the starting rotation was definitely the strongest part of the Pirates team, with Cole, Liriano, and Burnett as your top three. And even Locke, Morton, and I forget the other guy Worley was in there a little bit. They all pitched very well. Now, with Burnett hurt, and Liriano had one bad start, and J.A. Happ looks awful, is it a cause for concern?
Well, that's something we have to ask ourselves. I mean, you got Garrett Cole and Liriano still. Now, you said Liriano had the bad start a couple starts ago, but let's look at Cole first here. Obviously, we're not worried about Cole. He's 14-6, a 2.48 ERA, 112 WHIP. Lit up 133 hits with just 34 walks and 148.2 innings. Compared that to 149 Ks. So this guy's still dominating. Now, his last outing, it wasn't his greatest outing. 5.1 innings, 7 hits allowed, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and 6 Ks at St. Louis, which was a loss. But he has 3 earned runs or less in 22 of his 23 starts. So obviously, nothing to worry about with Garrett Cole. And
unless we're playing Cincinnati.
Yeah, I guess unless you're playing Cincinnati. He does have trouble with Cincinnati, obviously. But then you got Francisco Liriano. I know some people seem to be worried about him after his last start against the Dodgers on the 8th of this month, when he went 3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, a home run, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. But this is something that happens to every single pitcher in baseball. Look at Matt Harvey. The Pirates went in and blew him up. So it happens. And if you look, he's 4-0 over his last 7 starts. He didn't actually take the loss in that bad start against L.A. But yesterday at St. Louis, he pitched better. Still not dominating. 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 4 walks compared to 5 Ks. So his control was a little off, but it usually is. Because if people aren't swinging at his pitches, he's walking a lot of people because he doesn't pitch in the zone very much.
The only thing that worries me a little bit about Liriano is he's on pace for a career high in innings and at a higher age, and it's mostly just because of the Burnett injury. If Burnett was still in the mix pitching well, it wouldn't bother me. But if Liriano for some reason does hit a wall and go down or blow out his elbow or something, they're just...
Well, I mean, if you look at stuff like that, yeah, any team can look at it like that. If the Dodgers lose Kershaw or Greinke, that hurts. If the Pirates lose Cole or Liriano,
Kershaw
that
and
hurts.
Greinke aren't 30-plus-year-old pitchers on pace to throw the most innings in their career in one
Greinke's
season.
over 30, and, I mean, he's thrown a lot of innings in his day. Liriano had injury problems in the past more than Greinke has. But I wouldn't worry about Liriano. I think he's all right, and the reason he's going to pitch more innings than he ever has is because he's having an excellent season, and really comparable to Garrett Cole. If you look, Cole, the 112 whip, Francisco Liriano, 113 whip. He has a 3.19 ERA, he's 8-6, and 135.1 innings pitched, just 105 hits allowed. He's the hardest guy to hit on this staff, but he also walks more people than anyone on the staff outside of maybe Jeff Locke. Locke's walks have been up, but Liriano 48 walks compared to 149 Ks in those 135.1 innings. You can't really be worried about Liriano moving forward. I mean, I understand there's things you can worry about, but you can't really be worried about Cole or Liriano moving forward. And then you got Charlie Morton, who on June 16th, he won his 5th straight start and had a 1.62 ERA. Since then, he's 2-4 and allowed 5 or more runs in 3 of his 9 starts, although he did go 6 or more innings in 6 of those starts, so he was still working somewhat deeper in the games. His last start, 5 innings pitched, 10 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, and 6 Ks versus the Dodgers. His prior start to that, though, 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 7 Ks, and his ERA was 4.19 at that point. Right now, it's at 4.48. But look, he's 7-4, a 136 whip, 82.1 innings pitched, 85 hits, and 27 walks compared to 54 Ks. Obviously, he's not a guy that strikes out a lot of people, but he's keeping the ball in the ballpark, 7 home runs. I'm not really worried about Charlie Morton. He's more of a number 4 or number 5 type pitcher, and that's what you got to expect out of him. The whole problem here is A.J. Burnett. Now your number 3 pitcher goes down, so you have to move your number 4 pitcher, Charlie Morton, into the number 3 spot, and Jeff Locke, your number 5, into the number 4. That's what makes everything look bad. And really, yeah, they've been pitching bad out of the All-Star break. But if you look, when Burnett went down, J.A. Happ's only made one start since then, and they skipped him in another start. So really, I think it's a little bit too quick to get worried, considering Happ has only made the one start since Burnett went down, and he's only a couple weeks away from returning. Now, the one worry is he going to pitch like he did earlier in the season, or is he going to look like he did before he went to the DL? That's the real question, and then you're going to have to find an answer if he does end up pitching terribly. Like
there is no answer. If AJ can't come back and at least be half of what he was, the Pirates are going to struggle to win a playoff series.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, man. Just look at the Kansas City Royals. Yeah, they brought in Johnny Cueto. You could compare him to Cole. I say Cole's a better pitcher, but they're both aces. And then Edinson Volquez is their number 2 pitcher. And I'd rather have Liriano. So really the 1-2's better. And their back end of the rotation might be a little better. Maybe not by that much, I would say, at least. So, I mean, you could use 3 good pitchers in the playoffs, though, but it's not necessary because, like I said, look at the Kansas City Royals. They don't really have a definite number 3 pitcher for the playoffs right now either.
The Royals don't make as many errors as the Buccos, though. They're a better fielding team. And obviously, this is very obvious when I say this, going into a playoff series with Cole, Liriano, and AJ at the first half of the season is way better than Cole, Liriano, and either Morton, Locke, or Happ is your other. Your third
absolutely.
guy.
There's no question about it. AJ would be a huge addition going forward if he came back and pitched like he did earlier in the season for the playoffs. But if not, I mean, all isn't lost. You look at Jeff Locke here. Yeah, he's been struggling. This is why people have been upset with the rotation lately, because of a couple bad starts for some of these pitchers. But you look, he has 4 straight starts with less than 6 innings pitched. His ERA went from 4.01 to 4.43 in that time. He didn't allow more than 4 runs in any of those starts, though. In one of them, he let up 3 earned runs. In the other 3, he let up 4. So he wasn't really pitching great. But prior to that, man, he was on a 7-start stretch with 3 earned runs or less and had a 1.97 ERA during that time. So that's about a month and a half stretch where he was pitching like a top end of the rotation type pitcher. Now, 4 starts where he's pitched poorly, that's something you got to expect. When a guy pitches like an ace that isn't an ace, there's a regression coming, and everything kind of equals out. So he's going to turn it around a little bit. He's not going to keep letting up 4 runs every game. He's going to have his good games moving forward. So, I mean, the Pirates are where they are with Locke and Morton in the rotation all season, and there's nothing really changed from that.
See, to me, Locke's MO is good at the beginning of the year and then just continually gets worse as the season moves on.
Well, he had this ace season where he was great in the first half and then fell
he
off.
just always kinds of tails off a little bit as the season, progresses, and he usually ends up losing his spot in the rotation by the end of the year. So I don't want Locke as a starter in a playoff series at all. At all. If you have to put Jeff Locke out there for that game, that's scarier than putting freaking Melanson as a starter, and he's a freaking closer.
It depends on who the other team's pitching, I guess, and what the series is. If you're down 2-1 in the series, I'm sure you don't want Locke pitching in the game.
If I'm up 3-0, I don't want Locke pitching in the game.
Come on, man. If you're up 3-0 in a series and you're going up against someone like Matt Latos or something, you're not going to sit there and say we have no...
definitely outduel Locke.
Yeah, see, that's where you're just wrong.
Locke's
it's possible we could, but you can't just go in and say this is definitely a loss for the Pittsburgh Pirates because Jeff Locke is pitching against Matt Latos.
Well, I'm not saying it's definitely a loss. I'm just going to say Jeff Locke will get out-pitched no matter who he goes against in the playoffs because he's just garbage.
Well, that's just
the Pirates' offense may be able to win the game.
Give me the rotation of the... give me a team. Give me the Chicago Cubs rotation.
I have no idea what the rotation is.
I just know
that I see Jeff Locke pitch constantly, and he looks like garbage. He's just garbage.
I just gave you, look, a 7-start stretch with a 1.97 ERA.
Right, and then look at the last 4, man. The last 4 tell me more than what those 7 did, because those 7 came at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, when Locke's good. Now Locke is regressing just like he always does. It's not going to come back.
4 earned runs or less in all 3 of those. If you have 4 unearned runs or less, you kept your team in the game. Now, it's not a great start, but you kept your team in the game. He had 3 earned runs in one of those games. And look at this. He's let up 5 or more earned runs in 3 of 22 starts this season. 3 of 22 starts.
If you Locke out in a playoff game and he can't even go 6 innings, you're in trouble.
Well, He can go 6 innings.
Yeah, he's going to lose it in the 6th inning if you put him out there, though, because he can't pitch that many innings.
Dude, he just had a start where he went 8 innings with no earned runs.
Everybody gets lucky every once in a while.
He's a 4th or 5th starter, man. That's
right,
what
I
you
understand
don't
that.
understand.
I understand that. I'm not saying he's an ace. I'm saying that in no circumstance ever do I want Jeff Locke as a starter in the playoffs. I don't care if I'm up 15-0 in a series that you only have to win 2 games.
Okay, well, what are the Dodgers supposed to do when they have to pitch someone like Matt Latos in a game?
They're not going to do it in the playoffs.
What are they going to do? They have Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke.
They're
Matt Latos is their third pitcher.
Dude. They're going to pitch them both through the whole playoffs.
Yeah, they are going to pitch them both. But yeah, they're not going to just pitch those 2 pitchers, man. Every team has something that isn't exactly perfect with the team, man. Every team you're going to see in the playoffs are going to have a point where the other team has a big advantage because of who is in the game pitching against them. I mean, you're going to see a lot of bad pitchers pitch in the playoffs, man. It's not just aces left and right in the playoffs.
Well, if you have Cole, Liriano, and Burnett, I wouldn't worry about any pitching matchup in the playoffs.
That's the thing, though. Burnett got to come back and be healthy. Don't get me wrong. I want Burnett instead of Morton and Locke, too, but I'm not going to say there's no way they can win a playoff series having Cole, Liriano, and either Morton or Locke. But then you look at J.A. Happ. He's only made 1 start. It was a bad start. 4 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, and 6 Ks. But if anybody that watched that game could see, he had very good stuff at points. The problem is he's very inconsistent with it, and he leaves the ball up over the zone too often, which the hitters definitely take advantage of. But the Pirates have fixed several pitchers before, and it takes more than a week to correct mechanics. You couldn't expect them to trade for J.A. Happ and then him pitch better just because he came over and had a week, not even a week, it was like 3 or 4 days later he pitched for the Pirates. You can't expect them to make any corrections that quick. But then look, they skipped his last start for what they said, to split up the righties and the lefties in the rotation, which makes sense, and because they had a couple days off. But them having more time to work with him on his mechanics and his arm slot and his delivery or whatever they seen that they think they could fix with him, that could have been a reason for it too. Now, they had 2 weeks to work with him, and maybe he does come out and pitch a little better. And I'm not saying he's going to turn into something like A.J. Burnett gave you, but maybe he can turn into something better than Morton and Walker pitching right now and be an acceptable third starter for you in the playoffs if they can turn him around. We'll have to see. You have to let it play out a little bit. If he keeps the ball
can't
up,
be worse than Locke.
You're out of your freaking mind with that, dude. I gave you the stats earlier this season. Locke had the, 65th best ERA out of qualified starters. That is a high-end number 3 starter for... I understand. Now, that's taking bad team starters, too, and everything. It's kind of skewed a little bit. But you can't just sit here and say Jeff Locke doesn't deserve to be in a rotation, man.
Well,
Jeff Locke is a professional pitcher.
My eyeballs seen Jeff Locke pitch, and I will not call him a professional.
7 starts with a 1.97 ERA. That is ace-type pitching, man. Now, he's not an ace, so he's not going to keep doing that. But if you can get stretches out of him like that, then he is definitely giving you quality outings, man.
Sub 500 record, damn near 5 ERA, and he walks everybody. So
damn near 5, huh?
Yep, it's close enough.
There you go.
It's almost
again.
4.5. That's close to 5.
If you're rounding, it's closer to 4, actually.
It is.
Listen, I'm not saying he's a perfect pitcher, man, but you're out of your mind if you think he has no value whatsoever.
Not in the playoffs. As a 4th or 5th person in a rotation in the regular season, I'll say meh. But in the playoffs, nope. I don't even want him on the roster. Can you just get rid of him for the playoffs? Is that possible in Major League Baseball?
You can make a 25-man roster however you want.
Good. Get him off it.
You're out of your mind.
He's just awful.
He's just like Josh Harrison was going to be, just like Jung Ho Gung was going to be, just
I
like
never
Francisco.
said Gung was going to be bad. You always say
God,
this about
man.
me. I never said Gung was going to be bad. You go find the audio of me saying that.
I will.
It's
not going to take long at all, man. It was definitely in the shortstop segment for the NL. You were hating on the Pirates for going out and getting a Double-A player and paying $15 million for him. I remember exactly.
I never said Gung sucked.
Oh yes, you did. You said he was garbage. He wasn't worth a major league roster spot. But in a perfect world, man, Jameson Taillon and Nick Kingham were supposed to be in this rotation at this point. And if you had Cole, Liriano, Jameson Taillon, and Nick Kingham, things would look really good right now. But it isn't a perfect world, and a lot of people have injuries, and that's something you got to deal with. Like I said, though, they want to get A.J. Burnett back. He was having a great season prior to the All-Star break, had a 2.11 ERA heading into the break. After the break, though, 18 earned runs, 32 hits, 3 walks, and 14 Ks in 6 innings over 3 starts. He was placed on a DL shortly after that, forcing the Bucks to make a quick move to bring in J.A. Happ. Burnett, though, he threw long toss on the field prior to Wednesday's game. His last outing was on July 30th, and he was expected to miss 4 to 5 weeks. So 2 to 3 more weeks, you could see him coming back and seeing if he can pitch well in this rotation again. If not, though, I mean, you say there's no more options, but there are options, man. You were saying the one time, what happened to all their depth? Depth is depth, man. Depth isn't ace pitchers sitting in the minors for you. They still have a lot of depth. Joe Blanton they have on this roster right now. I'm kind of surprised they didn't give this guy a look in the rotation as of yet. And really, there's no talks of it, but he has 1 earned run with 1 walk and 5 hits allowed and 7 Ks in 6 innings with the Pirates so far, all in relief. But look, he has 252 career starts. This season, he has a 3.59 ERA. He has nearly a K per inning at 47 and 47.2 innings. He's only let up 8 walks with 48 hits, so he's pitching very well. I wouldn't mind seeing this guy pitch in the rotation, and who knows, he could pitch well enough to be your third starter in the playoffs if Burnett don't work out. And then you got Vance Worley, too, and I'm really surprised this guy hasn't got another shot to pitch in this rotation since he wasn't claimed off waivers after they designated him. And they were able to retain him. This guy has a 3.78 ERA with the big league team this season, a 136 whip. In 69 innings, he let up 75 hits, 19 walks, and has 47 Ks. Most of that is out of the pen, though, obviously. But he still has a lot of innings left in him this season. Just 69 innings pitched. He pitched well over 100 innings last season for him, and he went 8-4 with a 2.85 ERA and a 1.21 whip for him last season. So I'm really surprised they didn't give this guy another shot in the rotation. And then how about this guy, man? You remember this name? Remember Rodimus Lees?
Dude, we're not even going to talk about this
Bull
guy.
crap. You should see what this guy is doing in the minor leagues, dude.
Well, it's because it's minor leagues.
Dude, Trip, where do you think these players come from? All these players played in the minor leagues before. You have to pitch well in the minors before you pitch well in the bigs. But look, in AAA, as a starter, a 1.24 ERA in 51 innings pitched allowed just 31 hits, 16 walks, 59 Ks in 9 starts, man.
Put him against big
Straight
league hitters.
dominating.
And it's back to
2
5
earned
ERA.
runs over his last 31 innings pitched. This guy's dominating. Why not give him a chance? See, there you go. Before they get a chance, you hate and say they're garbage.
Dude was already pitching for the Pirates this year, and he was garbage.
He had a 3.63 ERA. He wasn't pitching great, but he wasn't exactly completely terrible. But yeah, maybe he doesn't pitch as well out of the bullpen as he does as a starter. Some guys are better as starters. Some guys are better in the bullpen. Maybe he's better as a starter. But this is what you do, man. You hate on the players before they go in and do anything.
This dude was already on the team, already playing, and played poorly, so I have every reason to hate. I won't hate on Glass now because he's never been into the majors yet.
Yeah.
And I didn't even hate on Worley, so you're telling or Blanton, and you're telling me I hate on everybody. I like Worley, and I've never said a bad word about Blanton.
Well, you didn't say necessarily a bad word directly about Blanton, but as soon as they made all these deals, you said they were all garbage besides Aram.
Well, just because I like to hate on you and get you all fired up.
That's your
It doesn't
thoughts,
mean
though.
that's
the
my
thoughts you're
actual
giving me.
opinion. I just say that to you to get you all fired up.
All right, well, I'm just saying, dude.
Bland's a
you
solid
definitely hated
bullpen
on Gung and Cervelli. You've hated on Harrison, obviously.
Oh, I hate Harrison. He's garbage.
Yeah, you
Get him off
hate
the
on all
roster.
these players, dude. So your opinion sucks, man.
I guess to you, I was the one who was right about the Pirates series against the Cardinals. I predicted
Well, that's
it.
great.
Win one the third game. Boom. They lost first 2, won the third one.
Talking about your predictions, how's Neil Walker's prediction going?
Pretty good.
You predicted at the beginning of the season that he would be traded by the deadline.
Yeah, next year's deadline.
No, you didn't say that.
I didn't say this year's deadline.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, you did.
I just said the deadline. There was no deadline indicated. It's
You
whatever deadline I wanted
Dead
to
wrong
be.
on that. You said Volquez was going to be garbage this season, correct?
Yeah, he's garbage.
He has a 3.11 ERA.
And they traded for somebody better than him because they don't trust him in the playoffs.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why. Well, why did the Pirates need to trade for a starter? You got Cole. I mean, that's all you need, right?
No.
Well, apparently that's all KC needs. They just got a better starter than their best starter, and then that's all they need.
Because their best starter was garbage.
Well, then why do the Pirates need a
Because
starter?
their best starter's not garbage. The Pirates need a starter to add to their rotation. They don't need an ace. I never said they needed an ace. I said they needed somebody other than Jeff Locke.
But if the Kansas City Royals' second starter is garbage, how is that rotation going to do?
Wouldn't I say their rotation was good?
They got the best freaking rotation in the American League.
I don't care about the American League.
Oh my, listen to this, people. All right, let's move on to Tyler Glass now. He was called up to AAA at the beginning of August, and in 3 starts, he has a great ERA, a 1.69 ERA, but he's letting too many people on base, a 1.63 whip in 16 innings. He's allowed 16 hits compared to 10 walks. He let up only 3 earned runs, but he let up 6 unearned runs as well. So if you look at the surface, it looks like he's pitching pretty well. But if you look at the underlying numbers, he's actually struggled a little bit. Although in his last start, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned runs, 3 walks, and 5 Ks. That's something I could accept out of him. But I have to see this for a month out of him before I even give him a shot. And that sort of makes sense because you want to see if A.J. Burnett comes back and pitches well before you'd even think about giving Glasnow a shot. And if Burnett pitches well, then you scratch the Glasnow idea. But if he doesn't, I'd personally give Rodimus Lees a shot first. I'd give Vance Worley a shot first. I'd see what Locke does. But if nothing works out and Glasnow keeps dominating, I'd think about it. I still have reservations about it, though.
We always totally disagree on when to bring a prospect up because you're worried about years of eligibility 6 years from now. I'm not so much concerned with what's going to happen 6 years from now. I don't want to mortgage the future, but if Burnett doesn't come back and pitch well, he's probably not going to come back and pitch the way he did at the beginning of the season.
No.
We should all believe that. I don't trust anybody else in this rotation as a third pitcher, and I would bring Glasnow up. I would sacrifice the 1 year of eligibility to see what he can do. This kid has the pedigree to be a dominant starter in the league. He has a dominant fastball. He's a giant on the mound. I mean, he just creates so much velocity on his pitches. I realize what it means for the future. I totally get it, but I don't care. I don't want to say I don't care, but with the percentage, if it even increases a little bit with the team that the Pirates have this year, their roster is World Series ready now. There's no guarantee that they're going to be World Series ready in 6 years when you're giving up that 1 year of eligibility. So the risk reward between that just lies with as long as if Burnett can't come back healthy, I'm giving Glasnow the shot. I know Lees is pitching better in the minors than Glasnow is, but I've seen Lees in the majors and it wasn't pretty. I've never seen Glasnow in the majors. I want to see him in the majors. I know he's having a little bit of control issues, 10 walks in 16 innings, but he's also had 18 Ks in those 16 innings. So if he can just get those walks down a little bit, hit the corners a little bit more, I would just rather see somebody of his pedigree as the third pitcher and not a Jeff Locke or a Charlie Morton.
Yeah, I'm going to have to see his whip get down to at least 120 because usually it's well under 1. This guy is extremely hard to hit, and his walk rate was excellent in AA this season. I'm going to have to see him pitch well in AAA first before I would even give it any thought whatsoever. And I'm worried about the future as well because the Pirates front office, they come out and say, whether you believe it or not, this is what they say, that they are trying to build a winner long term. Now, you have to play the risk reward. When do you call prospects up early? When do you let them stay down so you have an extra year of control of them? But it kind of scares me because the Pirates never do this. First of all, I was surprised they called him up to AAA. Now, they did it at the same time Burnett got hurt pretty much. So it sort of made sense that maybe they do want to see what this guy has. And if he can dominate AAA, maybe you give him a shot. But they never do this. I'm surprised. I thought they were going to leave him in AA for mostly the rest of the season, give him a couple starts at the end of the season in AAA, and then another few months at AAA next season, which they still might do. But I was really surprised that they called him up this early, and I'll be real surprised if they call him up to the big leagues, because they never do something like this where they give a guy a couple starts and then call him up another level. I'd be very surprised with that.
See, it's not that out of the realm of surprising for me, I guess is the way I want to say it, because the Pirates were never at the opportunity that they are now when they had those good prospects. It made more sense to leave them down and plan for the future because the future was so bright. And I'm not saying the future isn't still bright, but now we're a contending team for the World Series, not just a team trying to make the playoffs. That's not good enough anymore. We want to win the World Series, win playoff games. And if they would bring them up, it to me just says that the Pirates are realizing now that they're at a different level, I guess I want to say, as an organization. And that's a big word from me for the Pirates because I don't give their organization a lot of credit. But they are at that level where they are a contending team to win the World Series, and they may reach, I guess, or hope and bring this guy up and see what happens. It has happened. It's worked before. When Tampa Bay went on and made a run through the playoffs, David Price was a young pitcher.
Yeah, he actually pitched out of the
up,
bullpen for him, though.
And I mean, he pitched well.
Yeah, he did.
But with all the injuries in the staff, if AJ doesn't come back right, I think the Pirates are close enough to the World Series that a year, 6 years from now, isn't as valuable to me as this year is.
Wouldn't you at least...
In 6 years, are they going to have the position players that they do?
Wouldn't you at least, let's say, call up Rodimus Lees and give him one start, and if he dominates, let it go, and then if he falls apart, then give Glasnow the shot so you can save that year, and maybe you do find a good pitcher?
See, if we would say right now, if today the Pirates had to call one of these two up, Lees would be the better person to call up. But if we're going to wait until the AJ injury sorts itself out and we see how AJ pitches, even if Glasnow doesn't completely dominate in the minors and Lees is still pitching a little better, I still want to bring Glasnow up because he has the pedigree and just that opportunity to really dominate in a game. And I've never seen that type of pitching from Lees.
Well, I think this is how it would work out. Let's say Burnett comes back at the end or at the beginning of next month. So maybe there's 2 or 3 more starts for Glasnow until that happens. And then you give Burnett one shot. Let's say, I think you're going to know pretty quick that if Burnett has it or
yeah, you'll
doesn't.
see in his velocity, most likely in his second start by then, because he just needs to warm his arm up a little bit in one start and then go out for another, and you'll know.
If he can start early in September, get 2 starts under his belt, let's say he pitches 2 games by the 7th, I think there might be enough time to bring Lees up and see if he can dominate, and if he gets lit up in the bigs, and then maybe if Glasnow hasn't shown any kind of letdown and keeps pitching well, I'd give it a shot then. But I don't know. I want to do everything I can to keep that extra year.
Would you trade the extra year for a World Series title?
If you told me I'm guaranteeing you in a World Series, yes.
That's with sports. There is no guarantees. And
Yeah.
there's no guarantee that in 6 years, when Glasnow's a beast, that they're going to have the position players and the bats that they have. Because I think we can both agree we don't think McCutchen will be there in 6 or 7 years. Marte and your Polanco might still be there because Marte's signed to a long deal and Polanco will be signed to a long deal. Harrison may still be around because he's not going to be a $100 million player.
Well, he just signed 6 years.
Think. But I still don't think...
He probably won't be around because he'll be like 34.
I still don't think the Pirates are going to give McCutchen that beast $150, $200 million contract. And I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying in 6 years, I don't think he'll be with the team anymore.
It's not 6 years, man. It's like 4 or more.
Right, but I mean, like we're saying, in about 6 years is when Glasnow would lose the eligibility.
But to me, that you're sort of explaining why I want to keep that year, though. Because McCutchen isn't going to be there, most likely. And the best way to stay good is to have other good players. And by taking away a year from Glasnow, not having McCutchen, I mean, you're taking good players away in the future.
But we're on that cusp now. We're a World Series contender. We're not even just a playoff contender.
I'm not disagreeing with you totally, man. If he dominates and everyone else keeps struggling, I have no problem with it. But I really have to see... I mean, I want to see Vance Worley come up and see if he can pitch okay. I want to see Joe Blanton pitch a start in his rotation. I want to see Rodimus Lees. I want to see everything I can before I make that decision to take away a year from Glasnow and bring him up and put him in his rotation. But the one other thing they could do, man, is something at the waiver deadline. But here's the problem with that. It's going to be tough for them to make a claim because they have the second best record in the NL. So if an NL guy goes on waivers...
Works like football, best to or worst to best.
Worst to best.
Yeah.
But NL players will go through the NL and then the AL. Now, AL players, they go through all the AL first, and then they'll go through all the NL until Pittsburgh and then St. Louis at the very, very end. So it's going to be very tough for them to make any kind of deal before the waiver deadline. So I don't see that happening. So it's going to have to be one of these pitchers here in the minors, or it's going to have to be A.J. Burnett come back and pitch well, or Charlie Morton or Jeff Locke got to step up and pitch like they have shown not too long ago, but not like they're pitching right now. But no, I don't think J.A. Happ's going to be that guy, but I still think that they could turn him into something useful if they just work with him a little bit longer.
Who, Happ?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just look what they did with Volquez, man. Anybody that...
Well, I think Happ could have been a decent back-end rotation guy in the regular season. And I'm not saying that just because he's starting a playoff game, and as much as I hate Locke, just because he starts a playoff game doesn't guarantee a loss. It just doesn't give you a very good chance either. It'll win. But that's it. That's all we got for you today about the Buccos. Fans, you can follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread or follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming to YouTube and clicking subscribe and keep clicking thumbs up. Bucco baseball heating up.